you may know me, or I'm a frequent guest here on the UK Hi-Fi show the years before, and doing some short workshops and maybe 25, 30 minutes we'll do. We did a short test run yesterday, and I can say that this high-end system can do the job very well. Our topic is going from smaller MP3 to normal CD resolution to real high bit, and the announcement here in the program is somehow wrong. It says we go from MP3 to DSD and DXD. I don't know even what that is. And no, we stay in the PCM, so-called PCM area, pulse code modulation. And you remember when, or maybe some of us remember, let's say in the middle of the 80s when the CD came up, music reproduction became digital, and digital was sort of optimal when there was some discussion about sound reproduction quality, not even in music, just on telephone, and someone said, oh, this is digital, oh, then everything might be okay. That there might be differences in digital quality just was recognized beginning of the 2000 years when those little players came up, those little digital players, and the storage place was rare and expensive, so the files, the music files, the songs should be small. And then the Fraunhofer Institute came up with this fantastic MP3 system, taking everything out of the music that they think is not necessary. And there was a big discussion if the CD is even too good for us, and if 128 kilobits of MP3 will do the job as well. Fraunhofer said everything that goes beyond 122 kilobits is only hi-fi for bats and dogs. To cut this whole thing short, today we know that it's MP3 is to use on your mobile phone or your little Bluetooth speaker or whatever, but when you have a real hi-fi system or even a high-end system like this one, you go the opposite direction when it comes to CD, which has a system of 16-bit 44.1 kX. This is the system of the CD. Sometimes you see on the covers 24-bit mastering or something like that. Then they do probably a 24-bit mastering on the console, but what ends up on the CD is 16-bit 44.1. And as in the TV area, we have the same development on hi-fi and music reproduction. So we go to higher standards. Instead of 16-bit, we have 24 bits. Instead of 44.1 kX, we have 88.2, 96, going up to 192 and even higher. And but what does it mean? That's my task, to show you this. And
that's the capital of the tracks. And
thank you.
Volume up and down is here on the remote.
This one. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Let's see if I can get along here. Sorry, I have to look for my tracks here. We start with something very simple, hopefully. I think it's taken from, I have to give two small remarks before we start. The highest resolution that you're going to hear is always the original recording format. So I don't will offer you some upscaled, smaller digital formats. So the highest resolution is also the original recording format. And then the CD version or the MP3 version even is a derivative taken out of that. And the second is when it comes to MP3, I will play 320 kilobit format. This is the best MP3 you can have. I mention this because in the background of your brain, maybe you have the 64 kilobit MP3 files in mind. That was a format in which those youngsters, beginning of the 2000, interchanged their illegally interchanged their pop songs with each other. I said, why do you want to put them to court? They are punished enough to have to listen to that. So, this is a thing. It's from the a recording by the Beats Brothers and Hans Dalfer, who's the father of Candy Dalfer. He was a big player in the jazz scene in Amsterdam, and it's a live recording. I remember Clifford, so you have a very short applause scene, and then the music starts, and it's sounding like this. But this was MP3. And I just, if I manage to play it again, just the first seconds, and then I go to CD resolution, but which is almost 4 times the data. But the first seconds in MP3 again. So now we go to CD resolution. The same thing. You have a much bigger sound space and much more atmosphere, more air in the saxophone. MP3 said, air, soundstage, atmosphere, you don't need that, out. Yeah? And MP3 is right, because MP3 was never made for such systems. But for your little player and for listening with headphones, and I also have such a player. And when I'm traveling, and you can imagine when I travel a lot, and I'm sitting on the train, or on the plane, or I don't care really if the sound is a little bit more like this or a little bit more like that. But when I listen to my high-end system, in which I have invested lots of money, I want to take out as much as possible. And the source, the limiting source, mustn't be some streamer or some device you have here, but maybe it's your file you're playing. And so lots of us do streaming today, and lots of us, they stick to Spotify maybe, and it's only MP3. So you can invest as much money as you like here. You will never get the whole out when your file is limiting the system from the start. So I go just one more time, the CD version, and then I go to the original format, which is in this case 24 bits, 192 kHz. But first the CD again. And so now we go to full resolution, 24 bits, as I said, 192 kHz. You will recognize that you don't even need the music, just this very short applause sequence at the beginning shows the difference as before. Sounds like this. So, very small. As soon as you're used to the high standard of a high bit file and all this information given by it, MP3 seems to be very small and narrow and bad. So, next thing, is this easy to hear? I think it's easy to recognize, isn't it? Yeah. I'm thankful for this very nice high resolution system here, so it makes my job easier. Oh, I have a very nice track here. This is was taken not from a vinyl, but from a master tape, an original analog master tape. Django Jackson, the Colombiana album, recorded with Tube Electronics at that time. And we do it other way around. I play the high bit version first, and this is 24/192, as it was before, and then we go to the smaller versions. Recording with a deep sound stage and lots of details just around you. Just the first seconds and high bit, and then I go down only to CD version, but first, just again, high bit. Professional listeners and to tell the differences between the digital resolutions, and you see again we have a smaller sound stage. Our brain, our ear needs all these little tiny informations to build up this big sound stage in your brain. When you are in a concert, you have your eyes and your ears, and so your brain builds the whole situation. But when you're sitting in front of your system, of your hi-fi system, you see nothing, just your speakers and your components. So the music, the sound, has to carry all the information. And what is gone, what is taken out, it's gone. And then your brain is not able to recognize how big this original recording room was, for instance. And in MP3 it's like this. compact, and again, this was just to your memory. This was soundstage again, and we can do some nice experiment. And I play just a solo piano to you. It's a recording by a German high-end label called Accusense, and they have high standard. They record since years in 24/192. So because they know how important it is. And I have different resolutions here. I will play you the original file. It's Chopin Impromptu number 1. Boris Bloch is playing, and the recording was made in a natural room. So you have some reverb, you have some echo. You have it was not made in a dry studio. And I play you the original resolution 24/192, and then go down only to 24/96. So theoretically, there's no difference in that, because maybe half of the bandwidth is usable for acoustical signals. So, and if you have almost 50 kilohertz or almost 100 kilohertz of usable bandwidth, is for our hearing no difference, because humans can listen up to maximum 18 to 20 kHz. So there should be no less of information. But you will see that there is, because humans, we don't hear frequencies. We hear impulses. We are impulse listeners. And that's why it's so important that we are able, or our hi-fi system is able, to give all these little fractals and details, very short ones, and for our listening. So I will start at, let's see. Full resolution. Fantastic recording, maybe one of the best or the best piano recording you will ever hear in your life, but not as light and airy and moving and agile as the 192 kHz version, isn't it? It's a little damped, or seems a little bit damped. The room is a little bit smaller. And just again, I play the 2496. And the full resolution. So, you see how sensitive our ear is to all these details and to this little sound. We think our eye is much more sensitive, but it's not true. Our ear is sensitive, and it's very important for us as human beings that we can recognize immediately when you have a click or something, an enemy is approaching you, or a wild animal, that we can tell within a thousandth of a second we can tell the direction this sound was coming from, this click, and we can tell also the distance. So we can flee or fight or whatever. And so this is a big misunderstanding in saying we don't need this high bit because we just here to up to 16, 18, 20 kx, and everything that is above is also only for hi-fi, is only hi-fi for bats and for dogs, as the Fraunhofer Institute said, but we can listen up to much higher frequency, not as a sine wave. Sine waves are not existing in nature. Sine waves come out of our measurement equipment. They have 1 kilohertz or 5 kilohertz or 10 kilohertz or whatever, but it's not existing in nature. In nature, you always only have impulses. And all these short impulses, when you make a Fourier transformation, it's a so-called Fourier transformation, and you take out a click from a certain frequency, 20 kx is easy to recognize. And even 100 kx or 250, or you can easily recognize as a short click. And when it comes to 1 megahertz, then it's hard to tell, was there something or not? Yeah, this I wanted to show you here in this short experiment, and so that when you do streaming and you have a nice hi-fi system, mustn't be this price range or quality range, you can easily recognize if you have a maybe MP3 file from Spotify. I would recommend that you invest a little bit more money per month in your subscription and go to Tidal or go to Qobuz and have some high bit resolution there. Then you can take out much more of your hi-fi system than with those smaller files. And as I said before, the crucial thing might not be your streamer, the quality of your streamer or your cables or your speaker or your amplifier or whatever, but it starts with a file. Okay, thank you very much. I do some more presentations today. Thanks, Matthias.